So hello and welcome to our webinar today on extra features in Microsoft SharePoint. So my name's Libby and I'm here to give you just a quick introduction and background to Alberon and some of the services that we provide. So we were started around 17 years ago here in Oxford, primarily specialising in web application development, SharePoint development, Power BI reporting and analytics, and bespoke software development. Now, more specifically, some of our services that we offer include software development, web design and development, managed web hosting, and software and web support and training. And we actually have a series of really comprehensive training courses that we'll be launching in the near future, which will be very in-depth and teach you how to manage and keep up to date with your own online environments. And more recently, we've been expanding our SharePoint services, so we can really help with the sort of design, development, consultancy, and like I just mentioned, training. Now, the reason that we want to support more organizations with SharePoint is because it already comes as part of Microsoft 365 package. Here we go. As part of the Microsoft 365 subscription. So it's really accessible to those who already use Microsoft services. And we also find that a lot of businesses don't really use SharePoint to its full potential. So we can really help organizations and individuals to maximize the benefits of the Microsoft suite of applications. So SharePoint can be used for more efficient collaboration, document management and control, and it can be customized to your organization to handle more specific business processes that you require. And we tend to find that people enjoy using SharePoint because it's got a lot of sort of built-in functionality, it's got centralized administration, it's very customizable, the document management and collaboration features are really useful, and once you're familiar with it, it's really easy to use. And as I mentioned previously, it's also fully integrated with other Microsoft 365 apps. So it just creates a more seamless and efficient end user experience. And we find that it just empowers users and employees to handle processes themselves instead of having to really heavily rely on external support, which just means that a lot of things get done a bit quicker. Here we just have a small selection of lots of our happy clients, and these include a lot of colleges, Oxford colleges and charities around Oxfordshire, and they've found that generally their processes have become much more efficient since using SharePoint and developing their SharePoint online environments, and you can read more detailed testimonials on our website. And additionally, on our website, we have a range of case studies, which you might find useful to read as well. So these case studies identify the challenges that organizations are facing, and they detail how Alberon were able to help them create positive results that benefited everybody in their workforce. And some of the solutions that we've delivered include establishing an easy-to-use intranet, reforming their permissions and access structures, and providing consultation and training to company staff just to help them become more confident with maintaining their sites. And these results have been great. They've included the removal of any inconsistencies within their site structure, and their setups have just, as a result, been a lot more professional, and they've been using more appropriate systems for information sharing and access. So why choose Alberon? Well, obviously we've got almost 17 years of experience, and this combined with the skill and expertise of all of our developers and consultants, we know how to sort of tailor these solutions to suit a really wide range of business needs. And additionally, we can provide business insights and analytics, as well as in-house technical support. So you can feel comfortable knowing that the needs of your organization are in safe hands. So if you're interested in any more of the services that we offer, or if you'd like to know more, then you can drop us an email at hello@alberon.co.uk, and we'll be happy to discuss any queries with you. I'll shortly hand over to our senior consultant, James.
Brilliant. Right, thanks, Libby. Good morning, everyone. As Libby said, my name's James McDowell. I'm the Senior Microsoft Consultant here at Alberon. And this is one in a series of webinars that we're running on capabilities in SharePoint. and also touching on some of the other services and applications bundled in Microsoft 365. This one today specifically looks at some of the extra features that are available out of the box that you may not have heard of or may not be aware of, even if you're using SharePoint. So previously we've looked at how you can use SharePoint to create a smart document management system and also to create an interactive workspace for collaboration and information sharing. But there are some other features included. So from your SharePoint page, we'll specifically be looking at these three options here. So from your SharePoint page, if you select New, it brings a drop-down list of features. Some of these we've touched on before, such as document libraries and also adding third-party applications in. But as you can see, there are some others there that are available straight away. Now, the first one is Microsoft List, but essentially List is a really smart app within 365 that is directly enabled in SharePoint. And you can create lists of data, hence the name, and actually set it up as a really useful database. So we will be looking at this in more detail next week, and we'll be showing you that for some users, it might actually be a better alternative than Excel. So I won't touch on that again. Hopefully you'll join us next week for that. So the first one we're going to look at is Pages. So Pages allows you to actually create an article or a blog and publish that direct into SharePoint to share with your colleagues or even customers if your SharePoint site is externally facing. So you can create articles, highlight specific subject areas, or if there's something that you're quite passionate about that you want to broadcast to the rest of your team. It's a really, really simple to use feature to create these pages. As you can see from the initial page, you've got three built-in templates. The first one is blank, so literally you're starting from a clean slate. If your article or blog is quite graphic intensive and visuals are important to you, then you can select a visual template which will actually highlight images and make them the focus of your article. Or if it's more text-based and it's actually the text content, then you can select basic text, and that will actually give you a structure that's actually more conditioned towards the actual written words that you're putting in. But there's also another way you can use Pages, and this is something that our clients have done, and I'll explain that now. So if you went to create a page, this is the blank version. Obviously, you can see it's pre-populated with the author, which is myself. So whoever is creating this article, your name will automatically be put in there. And you can add image or graphics at the top and a title, and then construct your article. It preloads it with a text box, so you can start typing text straight away from the blank thing. But the other useful way of using this is, we've said that you can create interactive spaces for collaboration and information sharing on the actual main SharePoint page itself. But if you're part of a larger team or a bigger department that has a lot of sub-teams in it, that collaborative workspace can get busy very quickly. And we recommend as best practice not to cram your SharePoint site with too much information, because you can get information overload and it makes it very difficult to navigate around. A good principle is that it should be an information radiator, and you should be able to see and access information really quickly. So if you find yourself in that situation where there's a lot of people using your site, you can use the main SharePoint page to highlight information that's relevant to all members of that department. But you can use Pages to create additional capacity. So for example, if you had a department with 4 teams in it, you could create a page for each team and put a link to it on the main SharePoint page, so those team members can get to it quite quickly. I'll just get rid of this text box. And as you can see, if you hover over the center of each section, you've got the plus symbol, and you've got exactly the same options that you do on the main SharePoint page. So all the web parts and all the interactivity that you can create on your main page, you can actually create on these subpages as well. So smaller teams within your department can have their own workspace for collaborating, and they're not putting information on the main page that other teams don't need to see or are not interested in. So it actually allows you to construct these exactly the same way as you would with your main SharePoint site. So that's really, really useful. And we've had clients who've decided to structure their SharePoint intranet around directorates or departments. So they find this feature really, really useful to be able to generate this extra capacity and actually keep the pages cleaner and more concise. So pages, that's the first one. It's a really, really useful feature. Okay, the next one is Microsoft Spaces. Now, I've been testing this with Libby this morning because from previous experience, this doesn't always screen share that well, but I'm going to give it a go and see if it'll actually work. You'll have to let me know if you can see this, Libby. There's a bit of background noise on that as well. Microsoft Spaces allows you to create a 360-degree environment where you can actually pin in 360-degree photos and videos, and you can embed 3D objects and animation, not just some of the visuals that you can see there, but you can also add in any features from your SharePoint site like document libraries or lists and actually see them in a 3D version. Now, some organizations find this a bit gimmicky. It's not really for them, but there are sectors where this is a really, really useful tool. So it's quite handy to know that this is actually available. We've seen people use it to display drone footage, for example, if that's something your organization does, or virtual walkthroughs and tours. And real estate companies are starting to use features like this to actually let customers walk around a property without actually having to go and see it. So there are ways that this can be used to actually enhance your business. And as I said, these can be created directly in SharePoint from your SharePoint site, but they can also be published externally. So you can send links out to this and invite customers in or external partners. And I don't know how well you can see that, but the 360 environment's really good. I know a lot of graphic designers have had to play around with this. Like I said, it's not for everyone. Some organizations wouldn't really get a benefit out of it, but it's useful to know it's there if it's something your organization might want to make use of. So that's Microsoft Spaces. There is built-in audio in Microsoft Spaces, but it also gives you the option to upload your own audio. So you could add some commentary or promotional material if that's what you need to do. The next two, news posts and news link, I'm actually going to show on the news app itself. So one of the web parts that you can add into your SharePoint site is news. As you can see there, I've added one in. It allows you to create internal news and announcements. So any of your team members can create an article and actually publish it and highlight that to the rest of the team or the rest of the business. I know we've got clients that find this web part really useful for their main company page because it allows them to broadcast key information to staff and keep them up to date about things that are going on around the business. When you select, you can select it from the new, but you can also add a news post direct from the news web part itself and have it published. When that opens up, it's in exactly the same format as pages. So it looks exactly the same, constructed in exactly the same way. The difference is with pages, you then choose where you publish the link to, whereas with the news story version, it will go directly into your news web part. So news posts is for internal, but you've also got the option for news link. And one of our clients is actually making use at the moment. They found this really, really handy. So news link allows you to paste a URL for an external news source and actually have that external source brought in and displayed within your SharePoint site. So you could, for example, use mainstream media sources like BBC News or Sky News. Other news outlets are available. But what a lot of clients are looking at is actually publishing trade or sector or industry news that their staff might need to keep aware of, particularly in regulated industries. So that's really useful to not only be able to publish your own content, but actually mix and match with external news sources. Like I said, once some of our clients have found out this feature is available, they've made really good use of it. particularly, as I said, in regulated industries. Next one is Plan. So there is an application within 365 called Microsoft Planner. And just like List, this is also directly embedded within SharePoint sites. Microsoft Planner is a really useful tool for task management. It allows you to create tasks and assign them to people and add attachments, keep track of deadlines. It's very simple to set up, very simple to use. It's a much easier alternative to Microsoft Project or some of the other project management software that's available. I've used this a lot myself, and we've got clients that are making great use of it, and it's because it's part of 365, it's also got that interactivity with the other applications. But SharePoint gives you the options so that you don't have to go out to the separate Microsoft Planner app. You can actually create one direct within your SharePoint site and make that available. And Planner is also one of the web parts available. So when you've created a plan, you can actually embed it direct into your page. So without having to go anywhere else, your team can see all the tasks that are available, who they've been assigned to, etc., etc. We are going to be looking at Planner in a future webinar because when you combine it with some of the other applications in 365, it's a really simple and powerful tool. So we will have a specific webinar on this later. But I just wanted to highlight that you can actually create them direct in SharePoint. Okay, the last couple of features I'm going to look at before we head to any questions. Page details actually gives you some information on your page. You can use Editor to check grammar, spelling. You can look at some of the properties when things were created. So for site owners or administrators, it's quite useful to be able to see some information. One thing I thought about this morning that I will mention as well, it's also possible in Microsoft Edge, if you use that as your main web browser, to add in a SharePoint analytics extension. And what that will do is it will actually analyze your SharePoint site and highlight any issues that it might have. For example, if you've got a huge amount of visual content, like really high definition images or quite in-depth like 4K videos, it can take a while to render and slow down your site. So it gives you advice on updates that you can do to make your site load quicker, because as we've highlighted before, SharePoint is a cloud-based application. But there's also analytics within each SharePoint site itself, and this doesn't look at how the page is constructed. It actually gives you information on the traffic to your SharePoint site. So if you wanted to monitor the uptake, particularly when you first move to 365 and SharePoint, and if you want to see if your staff are actually making use of it, or if you're highlighting content that you want the rest of your organization to see, you can actually see whether the amount of traffic, whether people are actually visiting. So it gives you information on the number of page viewers, how many individual views there have been, and things like the average time that each user spends on your site. So this can be quite useful for site owners to monitor the uptake of their SharePoint sites. You can see information by default, it's set at the last 7 days, but you can change it to the last 30 or the last 90, so you can see trends over that period of time. This feature is also available in news posts and pages as well, quite usefully. We'll be coming on to some of the back-end features of SharePoint in another webinar, but it is possible through your site contents to actually look at the analytics for a specific page or news story that you've created. And it won't only tell you anonymous information, as you can see there, but it'll actually show you exactly who's looked at your posts or your pages. So if you'd put an urgent news story out that you needed all your staff to see, site owners can actually check whether everyone's read it or who hasn't. And some of this information is quite useful to see, particularly if you want to know if content's popular or if you need to adjust the sort of content that you're putting out. So that's some of the extra features. Like I said, there are more. The sort of additional ones would be accessed behind the scenes, and we will be looking at that. We'll probably have a specific webinar for site owners and site creators where we'll go into a bit more depth. But as you can see, there's a lot more than just a document storage. Using SharePoint as a document storage, there's a lot more you can do with it. And we do encourage our clients to make the most they can of it and actually include all the other 365 features to make the experience a lot more effective. And that's it from me, Libby.
Great. Well, I hope everybody's enjoyed it. If that's everything, then I think we can wrap up. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Libby.
Great. Take care, everybody. Bye.